Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking right at our hands, the map we carry around. Specifically, we're zooming in on something called stress lines. We're using a YouTube video from Palmistry as our guide here.
Right. It's an interesting take on a specific feature.
Yeah, exactly. So if you've ever looked down and seen those little lines that kind of cut across the main ones and thought, what's that about?
Then this should be helpful, yeah.
That's the idea. We want to really unpack what these specific lines are, where this source says they are located, and, well, what they might mean.
And it's fascinating because, different palmistry schools might use slightly different terms, but often they circle around similar ideas when looking at certain hand areas.
Okay.
And this video, it definitely focuses in on one particular zone to talk about how stress might, show up physically on the hand.
Okay, so let's get our bearings then. Where on the palm we're talking about? The video points to the Mars negative area for these stress lines.
That's the term used, yes. Mars negative. It's also mentioned, though, that some readers might call that same spot, or roughly the same spot, the Rahu Mount.
Rahu Mount. Okay, different names for maybe the same place.
Pretty much. The speaker in the video seems to prefer Mars negative.
Got it.
And that actually brings up a good point about terminology, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, whether you call it Mars negative or Rahu Mount, the basic meaning, the kind of energy linked to that zone, it should ideally be consistent.
Right. You wouldn't expect one name to mean, like, anger and the other to mean, I don't know, water content or something completely random.
Exactly. The core interpretation of what that part of the hand signifies, that should hold reasonably steady, you'd think.
Makes sense. So we've pinpointed the area. Now, what do these stress lines actually look like there, according to this source? And what's the story?
Okay, so the description is they're lines that intersect or cross over the lifeline.
Crossing the lifeline, okay.
And specifically within that Mars negative area, it's the horizontal lines that are highlighted.
Horizontal. And those are the ones linked to stress.
In this interpretation, yes. They're connected with negative anger and aggression. The kind that doesn't really help you, that holds you back.
Negative anger.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there an example given? Sometimes that helps make it clearer.
Yeah. There is a pretty relatable one, actually. Imagine someone, right, who really wants to start their own business. They've got that drive.
Okay.
But maybe their family is really against it. They want them to get a safe job instead.
Ah, that classic conflict.
Exactly. So in that situation, these horizontal lines on the Mars negative spot could be seen as representing that opposition, that friction.
The stress from that push and pull.
Precisely. That external pressure, maybe even internal conflict about it, hindering them moving forward. That's the idea presented.
So these lines are like little flags for that kind of struggle. And didn't the video also mention something about this anger potentially affecting us physically?
It did, yeah. It touches on a possible link between holding on to that kind of negative anger and experiencing stomach issues.
Interesting. That mind-body connection idea.
Yeah, suggesting that intense negative feelings can, manifest physically, sort of a prompt to think about managing those emotions healthily.
And it's not just about whether the lines are there or not, is it? The video mentioned something about how they look, their strength.
Yes, exactly. The depth and the clarity of the lines are considered important.
So like a really deep, clear line means something different than a faint one.
That's the interpretation offered, yes. Deeper, clearer lines are said to indicate a stronger, more significant impact from these stressors or negative patterns.
And weaker lines.
Weaker, fainter lines might suggest the stress is, less intense, maybe more temporary, or having less overall influence.
No, it's probably good to clarify. This video isn't saying stress only shows up in this one spot, right?
Oh, absolutely not. That's a really important point.
Yeah.
The video makes it clear that stress, in palmistry terms, isn't confined just to Mars negative. You might see signs of it on other major lines, too.
Like the heart line or headline?
Yes. The heart line for emotional stuff, the headline for mental strain, the lifeline for vitality. Even the money line, maybe reflecting career pressure.
And the mounts, too, like Mount of Venus or Jupiter.
Exactly. Venus, Jupiter, Saturn. Different mounts can apparently show different kinds of stress indicators as well. So the location might hint at the type of stress.
So Mars negatives of one specific type, linked to that negative anger we talked about.
Right.
But the video also mentioned other lines related to anger or drive that aren't negative.
Yes, and this is a really interesting distinction they make.
Okay.
It differentiates between those crisscrossing horizontal lines on Mars the negative ones, and lines that actually run parallel to the lifeline.
Parallel to the lifeline. And those are different.
Viewed quite differently, yes. They're often interpreted as representing positive anger or aggression.
Positive anger. How does that work?
Like assertiveness, drive,
Yeah.
the kind of energy that helps you get things done, achieve goals, using that Martian fire constructively.
I see. So it's channeling the energy.
Right. But the video also adds a caution. If that Mars negative area has too many of those negative crisscrossing lines,
Yeah.
it can apparently dilute or interfere with the positive potential of that Mars energy, like static messing up a radio signal.
Huh. So it's about balance then, keeping the negative interference down.
That seems to be the implication. It's not about eliminating drive, but managing the hindering aspect.
Did the video offer any practical tips for managing that negative side?
It did offer some, pretty straightforward advice, actually.
Like what?
Things like eating well, getting enough sleep, basic self-care stuff.
Makes sense.
And one specific tip was, if you feel yourself getting angry over something small, something trivial, try drinking a glass of water.
Drink water. Interesting. Just to kind of reset.
Possibly, yeah. Again, it ties back to that idea of managing the physical and emotional connection to maybe lessen the impact of those negative stress indicators.
Okay. And one last thing. The speaker had some advice about approaching palmistry in general, right?
Yeah.
About being critical.
Yes, absolutely. That was a key takeaway. The video really encourages a reasoned approach.
Meaning,
be a bit skeptical of interpretations that seem vague or don't have a clear why behind them.
right, don't just accept anything.
Exactly. Look for analyses that give you specific reasons. The example used was how too many lines in one area can supposedly diminish the quality of that area.
Like the Mars example, too many negative lines weakening the positive Mars trait.
Precisely. It advocates for that kind of logical connection within the interpretation.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together, this deep dive, looking through the lens of palmistry manish. It suggests these stress lines are mainly found in the Mars negative area, also called the Rahu Mount by some.
Correct.
They look like horizontal lines crossing the lifeline in that zone.
Yep.
And they're generally linked to things like opposition, obstacles, negative anger, that kind of difficult energy.
That's the core interpretation presented, yes.
Right.
With the depth and clarity indicating how strong that influence might be.
Right. Deeper means stronger impact.
Potentially.
Yes. And crucially, this isn't the only place stress shows up. It can be reflected all over the hand on different lines and mounts.
Absolutely. It's a broader concept, just focused on one specific manifestation here.
So, thinking about all this, it kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if this perspective suggests stress can leave these marks, related to specific challenges like opposition or negative anger, it prompts a question for you, the listener. Considering this information, what other ways, maybe within palmistry, maybe completely outside of it, might offer you insights? Insights into, navigating those challenges or maybe channeling your own energy more effectively.
That's a great point. It's less about fortune telling and maybe more about using these ideas as prompts for self-reflection, tools for understanding maybe your own patterns or tendencies a little better.
Yeah, food for thought, definitely.
Yeah.
Gives you something to consider as you look at your own hands,
Yeah.
perhaps.